wheelbarrow for Edith, that she might barrow away the weeds as he hoed them up. And at last this great performance was completed, much to the admiration of all, and much to his own satisfaction. Indeed, when it is recollected that Humphrey had only the handsaw and axe, and that he had to cut down the tree, and then to saw it into plank, it must be acknowledged that it required great patience and perseverance even to make a wheelbarrow. But Humphrey was not only persevering, but was full of invention. He had built up a hen house with fir poles, and made the nests for the hens to lay and hatch in, and they now had between 40 and 50 chickens running about. He had also divided the pigsty, so that the sow might be kept apart from the other pigs, and they expected very soon to have a litter of young pigs. He had transplanted the wild strawberries from the forest, and had, by manure, made them large and good. And he had also a fine crop of onions in the garden, from seed which Jacob had bought at Lymington. Now Humphrey was very busy cutting down some poles in the forest to make a cow house, for he declared that he would have a cow somehow or another. June arrived, and it was time to mow down grass to make into hay for the winter, and Jacob had 2 scythes. He showed the boys how to use them, and they soon became expert. And as there was plenty of long grass at this time of the year, and they could mow when they pleased, they soon had White Billy in full employment carrying the hay home. The little girls helped to make it, for Humphrey had made them 2 rakes. Jacob thought that there was hay enough made, but Humphrey said that there was enough for the pony, but not enough for the cow. "But where is the cow to come from, Humphrey?" "Where the venison comes from," replied he, "out of the forest." So Humphrey continued to mow and make hay, while Edward and Jacob went out for venison. After all the hay was made and stacked, Humphrey found out a method of thatching with fern, which Jacob had never thought of, and when that was done they commenced cutting down fern for fodder. Here again Humphrey would have twice as much as Jacob had ever cut before, because he wanted litter for the cow. At last it became quite a joke between him and Edward, who, when he brought home more venison than they would keep in the hot weather, told Humphrey that the remainder was for the cow. Still Humphrey would not give up the point, and every morning and evening he would be certain to be absent an hour or 2, and it was found out he was watching the herd of wild cattle who were feeding. Sometimes they were very near, at others a long way off. He used to get up into the trees and examine them as they passed under him without perceiving him. One night Humphrey returned very late, and the next morning he was off before daylight. Breakfast was over, and Humphrey did not make his appearance, and they could not tell what was the matter. Jacob felt uneasy, but Edward laughed and said, "Oh, depend upon it, he'll come back and bring the cow with him." Hardly had Edward said these words, when in came Humphrey, red with perspiration. "Now then, Jacob and Edward, come with me. We must put Billy in the cart, and take Smoker and a rope with us. Take your guns, too, for fear of accident." "Why, what's the matter?" "I'll tell you as we go along, but I must put Billy in the cart, for there is no time to be lost." Humphrey disappeared, and Jacob said to Edward, "What can it be?" "It can be nothing but the cow he was so mad about," replied Edward. "However, when he comes with the pony we shall know. Let us take our guns and the dog Smoker as he wishes." Humphrey now drove up the pony and cart, and they set off. "Well, I suppose you'll tell us now what we are going for?" said Edward. "Yes, I will. You know I've been watching the cattle for a long while, because I wanted a cow. I have been in a tree when they have passed under me several times, and I observed that 1 or 2 of the heifers were very near calving. Yesterday evening I thought one could not help calving very soon indeed, and as I was watching I saw that she was uneasy, and that she at last left the herd and went into a little copse of wood. I remained 3 hours to see if she came out again, and she did not. It was dark when I came home, as you know. This morning I went before daylight and found the herd. She is very remarkable, being black and white spotted, and after close examination I found that she was not with the herd, for I am sure that she went into the copse to calve, and that she has calved before this." "Well, that may be," replied Jacob, "but now I do not understand what we are to do." "Nor I," replied Edward. "Well, then, I'll tell you what I hope to do. I've got the pony and cart to take the calf home with us, if we can get it, which I think we can. I've got Smoker to worry the heifer and keep her employed while we put the calf in the cart. A rope that we may tie the cow if we can, and you with your guns must keep off the herd if they come to her assistance. Now do you understand my plan?" "Yes, and I think it very likely to succeed, Humphrey," replied Jacob, "and I give you credit for the scheme. We will help you all we can. Where is the copse?" "Not half a mile further," replied Humphrey. "We shall soon be there." On their arrival they found that the herd were feeding at a considerable distance from the copse, which was perhaps as well. "Now," said Jacob, "I and Edward will enter into the copse with Smoker, and you follow us, Humphrey. I will make Smoker seize the heifer if necessary. At all events he will keep her at bay, that is, if she is here. First let us walk round the copse and find her slot, as we call the track of a deer. See, here is her footing. Now let us go in." They advanced cautiously into the thicket, following the track of the heifer, and at last came upon her. Apparently she had not calved more than an hour, and was licking the calf, which was not yet on its legs. As soon as the animal perceived Jacob and Edward, she shook her head, and was about to run at them, but Jacob told Smoker to seize her, and the dog flew at her immediately. The attack of the dog drove back the heifer quite into the thicket, and as the dog bounded round her, springing this way and that way to escape her horns, the heifer was soon separated from the calf. "Now then, Edward and Humphrey," said Jacob, advancing between the heifer and the calf, "lift up the calf between you and put it in the cart. Leave Smoker and me to manage the mother." The boys put their arms under the stomach of the calf, and carried it away. The heifer was at first too busy defending herself against the dog to perceive that the calf was gone. When she did, Jacob called Smoker to him, so as to bring him between the heifer and where the boys were going out of the thicket. At last the heifer gave a loud bellow, and rushed out of the thicket in pursuit of her calf, checked by Smoker, who held on to her ear, and sometimes stopped her from advancing. "Hold her, Smoker," said Jacob, who now went back to help the boys. "Hold her, boy. Is the calf in the cart?" "Yes, and tied fast," replied Edward, "and we are in the cart too." "That's right," replied Jacob. "Now I'll get in too, and let us drive off. She'll follow us, depend upon it. Here, Smoker, Smoker, let her alone." Smoker at this command came bounding out of the copse, followed by the heifer, lowing most anxiously. Her lowing was responded to by the calf in the cart, and she ran wildly up to it. "Drive off, Humphrey," said Jacob. "I think I heard the lowing of the heifer answered by some of the herd, and the sooner we are off the better." Humphrey, who had the reins, drove off. The heifer followed, at one time running at the dog, at another putting her head almost into the hind part of the cart, but the lowing of the heifer was now answered by deeper tones, and Jacob said, "Edward, get your gun ready, for I think the herd is following. Do not fire, however, until I tell you. We must be governed by circumstances. It won't do to lose the pony or to run any serious risk for the sake of the heifer and calf. Drive fast, Humphrey." A few minutes afterward they perceived, at about a quarter of a mile behind them, not the whole herd, but a single bull, who was coming up at a fast trot, with his tail in the air and tossing his head, lowing deeply in answer to the heifer. "There's only one after all," said Jacob. "I suppose the heifer is his favourite. Well, we can manage him. Smoker, come in. Come in, sir, directly," cried Jacob, perceiving that the dog was about to attack the bull. Smoker obeyed, and the bull advanced till he was within 100 yards. "Now, Edward, do you fire first. Aim for his shoulder. Humphrey, pull up." Humphrey stopped the pony, and the bull continued to advance, but seemed puzzled who to attack, unless it was the dog. As soon as the bull was within 60 yards, Edward fired, and the animal fell down on its knees, tearing the ground with its horns. "That will do," said Jacob. "Drive on again, Humphrey. We'll have a look at that fellow by and by. At present we'd better get home, as others may come. He's up again, but he is at a standstill. I have an idea that he is hit hard." The cart drove on, followed by the heifer, but no more of the wild herd made their appearance, and they very soon gained the cottage. "Now then, what shall we do?" said Jacob. "Come, Humphrey, you have all the ordering of this, and have done it well." "Well, Jacob, we must now drive the cart into the yard and shut the gate upon the cow, till I am ready." "That's easy done, by setting Smoker at her," replied Jacob. "But mercy on us, there's Alice and Edith running out. The heifer may kill them. Go back, Alice, run quite in the cottage, and shut the door till we come." Alice and Edith hearing this, and Edward also crying out to them, made a hasty retreat to the cottage. Humphrey then backed the cart against the paling of the yard, so as to enable Edward to get on the other side of it, ready to open the gate. Smoker was set at the heifer, and as before soon engaged her attention, so that the gate was opened and the cart drove in, and the gate closed again before the heifer could follow. "Well, Humphrey, what next?" "Why, now lift the calf out, and put it into the cow-house. I will go into the cow-house with a rope and a slip-knot at the end of it, get upon the beam above, and drop it over her horns as she's busy with the calf, which she will be as soon as you let her in. I shall pass the end of the rope outside for you to haul up when I am ready, and then we shall have her fast, till we can secure her properly. When I call out 'Ready!' Do you open the gate and let her